Welcome back. Well, Black Friday is arguably Nigeria's biggest shopping season where consumers hunt for unbeatable deals. But what can we expect this season with the cost of living crisis and rising costs of doing business? Join us now is Professor Uchenna Uzo, Professor of Marketing at Lagos Business School and Academic Director, Africa Retail Academy, joining us via Zoom. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Great to have you as well. It's good to be here. Thank you, Dad.
Fantastic. So these are quite, interesting times globally, but inflation in Nigeria is still on the rise. We're seeing easing in developed economies. Do you think this Black Friday will offer good deals in Nigeria, or maybe this Black Friday might not be as black enough for consumers?
Interestingly, it's blacker than ever, going by the data we're seeing. So I've been looking at some of the data. First of all, it's true that we had a slight dip if you look at how sales is going for Black Friday this year. But the interesting thing is that in the beginning of this month, there's been an uptake of about 40% in sales. And more interestingly, is the fact that fast-moving consumer goods have come up to be among the top 3 best-selling items on Black Friday this year. And what do we mean by fast-moving consumer goods? We're referring here to rice, we're referring here to beverages, we're referring here to bathing soap. So very ordinary discretionary items are playing a key role. Another interesting thing is that prices on Black Friday have been changing continuously every day. Every merchant selling on Black Friday now, the e-commerce platforms, increase prices on an average of 3 to 4 times a day, or should we say change prices. Sometimes it may increase, sometimes it may reduce. But it just tells you how dynamic the market has become. And it's an interesting scenario to be in. So in general, what we're seeing is that consumers are being more strategic about what they choose to buy. They are buying up in preparation for Christmas because they anticipate that prices are going to go up even higher. And so this is an attempt to manage the situation while keeping an eye on the things that they really enjoy to buy. So it's really an interesting scenario we find ourselves in now.
And seeing that consumers are accumulating, at this time, so they don't have to pay more, when festivities come, isn't that going to drive up the price right now?
Well, Nigeria defies logic, I must tell you, on the consumer side. Yes, to some extent, there are going to be price increases, but you're also going to see some price reductions as different brands try to attract a larger share of consumers. And so what is really interesting now for brands is thinking carefully about how to price right. We've gone beyond the time of pricing just by doing cost plus pricing. We are moving in the direction of value-based pricing, where customers are going to be holding brands very accountable for any product or service that they choose to sell. So there will be some increases, but definitely the brands that to the customer.
And do you think businesses will be able to increase sales, at this time? Are there platforms that can actually help, to drive sales, even though, consumers are squeezed on all sides at this time?
Businesses may be able to increase sales, but it really depends on how they define value. Value right now is not just about offering quality products and services. Customers are going to be asking for a lot more. They are going to be asking for accountability. They're going to be asking for reliability, consistency, the ability to manage the feedback and the complaints that come. And so the brands that will succeed at this time are the ones that are able to define value differently, the ones that are able to price right, and I think the ones that are able to harness data. Data is very powerful, data and technology. We're talking now about artificial intelligence and all those. But those who are able to harness the right data and the customer are the ones that will succeed. In terms of platforms, Nigeria is also an interesting place for the consumer. Online and offline platforms have to work together for brands to succeed. And let's not forget that Nigeria is not one market when it comes to the consumer. Nigeria is a conglomeration of markets. So what's happening in northern Nigeria, northern consumers, appears to be quite different from what's happening in the southern market. And being able to play around these dynamics is where the real value and the opportunity for growth provides itself.
What do you think should be the strategy right now for businesses to provide, good deals, good discounts while maximizing profit? And is it possible to put the consumer first at this time?
It's always possible to put the consumer first. And one of the ways to do that is to be mindful of the aspirations of consumers. We've been doing some very interesting work on this at the Lagos Business School. And it's interesting to find that the average Nigerian consumer is highly aspirational. You will find people who are earning less than the minimum wage and who don't live in houses of their own or drive cars of their own, aspiring in the next 5 years to live in Banana Island and to drive the most expensive cars. Hope appears to drive the aspirations that we see in consumers. And I think that brands that take these aspirations into account in producing products and services, and also in the way that they market these products and services, are the ones that are more likely to put the consumer first. The other interesting thing is really focusing on what the customer needs, showing empathy. Empathy is something important, and this is where brands can make that value.
Right. Talk to us about retail opportunities, in Africa right now. We've seen FX market distortions, foreign businesses finding it hard to get their funds, repatriated back to their countries at this time. And we're seeing a lot of big brands, pulling out, of the country. Talk to us about this.
You're right. Retail has taken a big hit in the economy. But the interesting thing is that while the big brands are pulling out, some traditional brands are extending their reach. It's really interesting that in the same market, some people are doing very well, while some others are leaving the same market. And what makes the difference is about understanding what retail really is. Retail is not just buying and selling. Retail is consumer engagement. Retail is a mindset. It's about knowing and understanding the consumer, and therefore planning to set the consumer to be closely engaged with the consumer. And that is where the opportunity is. The opportunity for partnerships, the opportunity for integration across platforms, the opportunity for retail education, and even the opportunity for policy development. Retail is a space where there can be a lot of policy development that will then affect other sectors of the economy.
And looking at 2023, we've had all kinds of macro headwinds. We still have inflation at an all-time high. What are you seeing going into 2024 for Nigeria and Africa at large?
Well, I foresee that even though inflation is likely to remain high, brands are going to be repositioning themselves to understand better what value means. I think that the consumers are going to continue to go for what really they care for. They're going to reprioritize their spending, and they are going to go for brands that really deliver the value they're looking for. So it's a time for cautious investments. It's a time for getting closer to the consumer. It's a time for pricing rights. It's a time for emphasizing reliability and consistency, so that at the end of the day, we keep the customer first.
Keep the customer first. Ozo, a professor of marketing at Lagos Business School. It's great having your perspective today.
Thank you.